o'clock.
Good morning. This is Northern Light for Wednesday, July 26th. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe.
NCPR has obtained a copy of a police report that describes an alleged violent altercation 2 weeks ago that involved the mayor of Saranac Lake and another village employee. It was the main topic at Monday's village meeting.
Let me finish. You love to bully people. You love to talk over people. I'm going to talk over you now, because I'm sick and tired of us having a workplace that is not safe for our employees.
More from Lucy Grindon coming up.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg will be the first sculpture added to Albany's $1 million staircase in more than a century. We have a preview.
This was an incredible moment to not just honor Justice Ginsburg and her life, but also to right a little bit of a wrong that's happening right here in our building.
And we'll wrap up our summer series on the recent acquisitions at the Hyde Collection in Glens Falls.
Picture like a yellow dinner plate, but with sort of ripples around the edge and slightly folded inward. So it's really beautiful, yellow and red, and just when the light hits it, it's stunning.
All of that is coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us.
Broadcast of Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio is supported by Mountain Orthotic and Prosthetic Services, a full-service practice committed to providing care for patients of all ages, with offices in Lake Placid, Plattsburgh, and Malone. Details and referrals at mountainonp.com. And by Blue Seat Studios, a multidisciplinary arts center featuring classes for adults and youth, concerts, art exhibits, and more. BLUSeatstudios.org.
This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe. 2 weeks ago, the Saranac Lake Village manager abruptly resigned following an incident between himself and the mayor. Now, NCPR has obtained a copy of the police report about that incident. It contains a sworn statement from the village manager accusing the mayor of grabbing him by the throat and pushing him against a door during an argument in the village offices. 2 other witnesses also give statements in the report. The statements agree the violence was brief and followed a heated verbal exchange, but there's disagreement about who initiated the alleged physical contact. The incident was the main topic at a village meeting Monday evening. Lucy Grindon was there and has this story.
According to the police report acquired by NCPR, manager Eric Stender said that Mayor Jimmy Williams, quote, put his hand around his throat and slammed him against a wall after the two had been yelling at each other in the village offices. The report says Williams told the police chief that he thought the incident, which happened on July 11th, was just, quote, 2 guys blowing off steam. But an eyewitness, village employee Nicole McClatchy, told police the mayor appeared to be defending himself from Stender, who she said had, quote, cornered the mayor. Stender submitted his resignation the day after the incident. His last day of work is today. Neither Stender nor Williams wanted to press criminal charges. The incident has been referred to the village attorney as a workplace harassment matter. NCPR tried to reach Mayor Williams and Stender, but was unsuccessful. In the days since, the situation has divided the village board. Village trustee and now former deputy mayor Tom Catillas has been calling for the police report to be made public and the incident investigated further. At the meeting on Monday, the mayor removed Catillas as deputy mayor and appointed trustee Matt Scollin to take his place.
I'd like to take a moment and thank Matt for agreeing to become deputy mayor. At this time, I will be appointing him to that position.
Catillas discussed his removal as deputy mayor in a letter to the editor of the Adirondack Daily Enterprise. He said, quote, I suspect it is because I want to follow up on a police report alleging that he physically harassed our village manager. Later in the meeting on Monday, trustee Rich Shapiro brought up the incident between Williams and Stender.
I'd like to bring up the elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room, he said. Shapiro called for the police report to be released publicly.
We can redact out the witnesses' names from it, obviously the addresses and phone numbers, but that report should be released.
The back and forth between Shapiro and the mayor quickly got heated.
You are not our village attorney, and I appreciate your perspective.
Will you let me finish? You love to bully people. You love to talk over people. I'm going to talk over you now. I have a loud enough voice. I will do it because I'm sick and tired of us having a workplace that is not safe for our employees.
The mayor and the two other village trustees, Kelly Burnett and Matt Scollin, said they wanted to hear the village attorney's opinion before releasing the police report, so no action was taken. Since Jimmy Williams was elected mayor last November, village politics have been tense and often partisan. Williams is a Republican, while several trustees are Democrats. Shapiro says 10 people who used to work in the village office have left since Williams took office as mayor last spring. Saranac Lake resident Mark Wilson said at the meeting that he was frustrated the village attorney wasn't there.
Why don't we have the village attorney at this meeting? Whose responsibility is it on the board to invite, to compel the village attorney to sit in on these meetings? Because you really need one.
Another local, Dara Wenska, said the board was not putting the village first.
I'm embarrassed by what has been going on in this little village. I'm embarrassed, and I expect more from all of you.
After the meeting, the mayor would neither confirm nor deny that the change of deputy mayor was related to his altercation with Stender.
There comes a point where it's nice to pass the torch on to the next group of folks coming up.
The police report still has not been officially released. Resident Mark Wilson said the public should know what's going on.
I think it's every citizen's obligation to pay attention to what's being done in their name, and this is a circus.
The next village board meeting won't be for another 3 more weeks. Lucy Grindon, North Country Public Radio, Saranac Lake.
UPS workers in the North Country are hopeful after a tentative deal averted a strike next week. Jeffrey Norman is with Teamsters Local 687, which represents about 450 workers at the Black River, Potsdam, and Plattsburgh UPS centers.
The company has been more than on par with what our needs for our members are and what we have needed to get across the table for a tentative agreement.
The current labor agreement is set to expire July 31st. Workers have held practice pickets 3 times this month in Potsdam. According to national reports, Teamsters will get $2.75 more an hour this year and $7.50 more an hour over the length of the deal. Part-time workers will also get more pay, an issue that held up a deal for months. Norman says the union has been fighting for better pay for 5 years as UPS saw record profits of more than $100 billion last year.
Our part-timers, our full-timers are the face of this company, and, going unrewarded for, the last 5 years, the majority of the time through the pandemic, we're the essential worker, we're the face that everybody recognizes when we come to your house to make the delivery. And we're the unsung heroes that went unrewarded.
The deal is tentative and still needs to be voted on by union members. Teamsters President Sean O'Brien said in a statement the deal is, quote, sets a new standard in the labor movement and raises the bar for all workers. UPS CEO Carol Tomei called it a win-win-win agreement.
A Democrat has entered the race to unseat Congresswoman Elise Stefanik next year. Stephen Holden declared his intention to run in the 21st Congressional District last weekend. Holden is a retired Army lieutenant colonel. He served multiple tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. Last year, he ran unsuccessfully against Republican Claudia Tenney in the neighboring 24th Congressional District. Holden faces a major uphill battle. Stefanik is one of the most powerful Republicans in Washington. She has name recognition, millions of dollars in campaign cash, and beat her challenger, Matt Castelli, in 2022 by 19 percentage points. Holden doesn't currently live in the 21st Congressional District, but he told the Adirondack Daily Enterprise he's planning to move to be closer to family and Fort Drum.
The city of Ogdensburg is going to pay its firefighters almost $520,000 in back pay. The money is owed after an arbitrator ruled late last year that the city violated its union contract with firefighters when it forced them to limit its staffing. The city council approved the payments at a meeting Monday night, according to the Watertown Daily Times. Mayor Mike Skelly was the lone no vote. The resolution said paying the back pay and ending litigation was in the best interest of the city. In 2020, in an effort to cut costs, the city told the fire department it couldn't have more than 5 people on a shift. Firefighters and the city have been in court since then. The city tried to have the arbitrator's decision heard before an appellate court, but the appeal was denied.
It's been a rainy start to the summer, but it's heating up and folks are getting out to swim, including reporter Amy Feiereisel, who ventured out during a break in the rain to Copperas Pond. It's a swimming hole outside Lake Placid that you have to hike up to. Here's Amy's audio postcard.
So I've just pulled off the side of Route 86 between Lake Placid and Wilmington. And even though the Ausable River is right to my left, I'm actually headed to my right, a little hike up to Copperas Pond. It just rained. It's been so rainy this summer, but it stopped and I'm ready to make the trek. This is one of my favorite spots because you hike up to it. And, you know, you gotta work for the payoff, and there really is a payoff. I'm headed up the trail. It's muddy as expected, but it is really, really steep. Oh no, the rain is starting again. It's kind of beautiful and bizarre. The rain is really coming down, but it's still sunny. So, you know, these droplets are coming through the treetops, but also, like, all of the rocks are glinting in the sunlight. It's so lush. There are big boulders covered in moss and these ferns that are just this almost neon green. So as I've been hiking, the rain has sort of been like steadily letting up, and it's just a little sprinkle now. I'm still in a pretty wooded area, so I can't tell. Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. This is luck. The rain is gone. It's just falling in the trees, and I've just come out onto the shore of Copperas Lake. It's this big, roundish pond, just ringed by trees, and you can see mountains around, but we're high enough off the road that you can't hear the traffic at all. You can't see anything. Oh, but the pond is just like a big mirror, reflecting these big puffy white clouds in the sky. So just a couple hundred more feet down the trail, there are these big rocks that are really fun to jump off of. But it's actually like a 9 or 10 foot drop into the pond. Kind of forgot how tall it was. But this is really why I came here. And I don't know how long this little break in the rain is going to last. So I think I got to go for it. Woo. Jump nice and far out. 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh, it feels so good. Wow, yes, that was so worth it. The water is still pretty cold and it's so refreshing. And I think I'm going to jump in again. From Copperas Pond, I'm Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio.
Adirondack harper Martha Gallagher, and this is a tune called After the Rain. You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 14 minutes past 8. Good morning. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Coming up, we'll get a bit of a preview of some of the music series going on throughout the region and take a look at one of the last recent acquisitions at the Hyde Collection in Glens Falls. All of that and more is coming up here on Northern Light.
Broadcast of Northern Light is supported by St. Lawrence Health, whose affiliation with Rochester Regional Health means more patient access to specialty care. stlawrencehealthsystem.org. And by St. Lawrence Nurseries in Potsdam, providing the North Country with cold, hardy fruit and nut trees for nearly 100 years. slngrow.com.
The state capitol in Albany is a stone carver's dream. It's filled with intricate carvings of animals, plants, magical creatures, all done by hand in the late 19th century. The centerpiece is the Great Western Staircase, better known as the $1 Million Staircase, a nod to its original cost. There, 77 famous faces are carved into a massive stone structure. But just 6 of those faces belong to women. As WNYC's John Campbell explains, that's about to change.
As you can see right here, we have Alex Hamilton as it's labeled, but I don't know if I would call Alexander Hamilton Alex Hamilton. I think they just ran out of room, so they didn't really have
A dozen tourists crowd around a tour guide on the 3rd floor of the New York State Capitol. One of the founding fathers, Alexander Hamilton, is looking down on them, his face meticulously sculpted into reddish-brown sandstone. They're standing on the $1 Million Staircase. It's cavernous, and it has them surrounded. The sandstone is above them, behind them, beneath their feet. But part of the massive structure is blocked off with pipe and a black drape.
And you can see some scaffolding here because we're actually adding, for the first time in 125 years, a new face to our staircase. And that is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yeah, so very exciting. And there's some.
The scaffold's covered by a white plastic tarp so you can't see in. A sign warns of ongoing construction. A stone carver by the name of Adam Paul Heller is inside, tapping away. Bevan Collins, the Capitol architect, invites me up.
If you feel oh, no, I feel totally comfortable. I just didn't want to interrupt.
I lied. The scaffold's way up in the air, maybe 40 or 50 feet from the ground underneath. It's not for the faint of heart, but I went up anyway.
John?
Yes.
Adam.
Nice to meet you, Adam.
Come on in. This is my little studio for the weekend.
This is incredible.
So nice. And it feels so safe because you can't see how actually.
Adam's job is to carve the name of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the late Supreme Court Justice and Brooklyn native, directly into the wall. It's just below a brand new sculpture of her face, which he covered up to protect from dust. Ginsburg is now the 78th famous face depicted on the famed staircase, and the first since 1898. She's the 7th woman, and Collins says the first 6 were something of an afterthought.
When the stair first opened, there was criticism in the papers because there was no women, and so 6 women were hastily added.
The Ginsburg sculpture is no afterthought. The idea to add her first came from then-Governor Andrew Cuomo's administration back in 2020, the same year Ginsburg died.
Within, I think, 10 days of her passing, our agency started thinking through what are opportunities to honor this woman.
That's Jeanette Moy, Commissioner of the State Office of General Services, the agency that oversees state buildings, including the Capitol. Moy was appointed by Governor Kathy Hochul. They both view the sculpture as kind of a 2 birds, 1 stone situation.
This was an incredible moment to not just honor Justice Ginsburg and her life, but also to right a little bit of a wrong that's happening right here in our building.
The sculpture itself was done by Meredith Bergman, the same artist who did the Women's Rights Pioneers Monument in Central Park. It's not the first time she sculpted Ginsburg. She crafted a bust of the late justice in 2013 after observing her for 2 days in her office. That work depicted Ginsburg in her later years. This new sculpture is different.
This portrait is more like the emblem of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It's her younger, she's in middle age. It's kind of how she is remembered.
The artist crafted it in plaster at her studio in Massachusetts. From there, a Vermont carver named Evan Morse translated it to stone, the same type of terracotta-colored sandstone shipped over from Scotland when the building was first constructed. The sculpture shows Ginsburg's face looking much like it did at her confirmation hearing in 1993, when she wasted no time highlighting her New York roots.
I am, as you know from my responses to your questionnaire, a Brooklynite, born and bred, a first generation.
Back at the Capitol, Ginsburg's stone portrait was installed a couple weeks back, though there's still some cleanup work to be done, so it's blocked from public view. Adam Heller invited Commissioner Moy up on the scaffold for a sneak peek.
Beautiful.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Good. There she is.
Oh my God.
She's very proud.
This is beautiful.
Justice Ginsburg is staring back at them. Her intricate white collar from South Africa is carved with exquisite detail underneath her chin, a nod to the modest fashion statements she made while donning the otherwise drab black robes all the justices wear. But it's missing a final touch.
When anyone conjures up an image of my grandmother in their mind, they think of glasses.
That's Clara Spera, Ginsburg's granddaughter.
There was internal debate among the family and discussions with the governor's office and the artist about what style of glasses would be most appropriate.
Ultimately, they reached consensus. Ginsburg will wear big, round glasses, a trademark of her early years on the court. But that left Meredith Bergman, the artist, with another problem.
I tried to sculpt the glasses so that they could be carved in stone with the bust, and that simply didn't work. They came out like massive goggles and shadowed her eyes too much.
So she came up with a solution. She sculpted the glasses separately and had them cast in bronze. They'll be painted to match the stone before they're attached to the sculpture in the coming weeks.
So who is ready to tax the rich?
The $1 Million Staircase is the Capitol's town square, where people hold rallies and protests for one cause or another when lawmakers are in town. There are chants and speeches that bounce off the walls, and sometimes even songs, like this one from a rally in June 2022.
We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep.
Ginsburg's sculpture will have a front row view. And her granddaughter says that seems right. Even in the 70s, Ginsburg wasn't on the front line of protests, but she supported the cause with her legal work.
The sculpture will be looking approvingly and happily on those who choose to articulate their rights in that way without being necessarily a direct participant in that kind of protest and that kind of work, but acknowledging that the two have to go hand in hand.
Governor Hochul's administration is expected to host a sculpture unveiling at the Capitol in August. John Campbell, North Country Public Radio.
We shall overcome someday. Make some noise, New York.
You're listening to Northern Light right here on North Country Public Radio. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Coming up, music and glass-blown art. Then stick around after the show for Bird Note. Coming up at 8:42, we'll take a look at the striking blue and white birds that raise babies cooperatively. That's coming up in just a few minutes after Northern Light. But first, Todd has a look at the weather for us.
If you like hot, steamy, muggy weather, we got a treat for you today. Highs near 90 across the region with partly to mostly sunny skies, light winds out of the southwest, and then some rain moving into the region tomorrow. About a 90% chance of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. Highs low 80s. Partly cloudy with a slight chance of rain continuing Friday with highs in the 80s. Some scattered showers Saturday. Then the extended forecast calls for sunshine and highs in the 70s Sunday and Monday. So today, partly to mostly sunny, winds out of the south-southwest, highs near 90 this afternoon. The airnow.gov website gives us a air quality forecast of moderate across our region today with 80, the ranking by this afternoon. If you're unusually sensitive to particle pollution, the EPA and airnow.gov recommend reducing your activity level or shorten the amount of time you're active outdoors today. So again, partly to mostly sunny, hot today, highs in the 80s, near 90, winds out of the southwest.
The majority of the art at the Hyde Collection, Glens Falls, was collected by the museum's founders, Charlotte and Louis Hyde, but the curators there today continue to acquire new works to expand and diversify the museum's collection. Throughout this summer, we've been taking a look at some of those recent acquisitions and chatting about it with exhibit curator Bryn Schockmel about them. And today, we're taking a look at our final piece for the summer by glass artist Dale Chihuly. It's called Buttercup Yellow Persian with Blood Red Lip Wrap.
This is the first work of art by Dale Chihuly that the Hyde has acquired. Dale Chihuly is an American artist who's still alive and working, and he really helped pioneer what's known as the American studio glass movement and creating glass objects that were purely decorative and purely art objects. So when you think of glass art sort of pre-20th century, you might think of medieval stained glass or 19th and early 20th century Tiffany lamps, but those obviously all have a function. They're windows, they're lamps, whereas Chihuly's work is purely decorative, and he creates these incredibly abstract and organic works all out of glass. He has a studio. He now mostly doesn't really make the glass himself anymore. He has a studio that he designs it, and they sort of execute his ideas. And so we have recently acquired this work just last year from the Charles R. Wood Foundation, and ours is called Buttercup Yellow Persian with Blood Red Lip Wrap. And so it's part of a series he did called the Persians, which are these very sort of organic fluid shapes, and they're often two colors, one color for the main part of the glass and one color for the sort of lip or the rim.
Can you describe the piece for us?
Yes. So it's like, picture like a yellow dinner plate, but with sort of ripples around the edge and slightly folded inwards. It's kind of hard to describe because it's very organic, but it's yellow with red around the edge, and then at the base, there's like a yellow sphere, which also has sort of flutes on it. And so it's really beautiful, yellow and red, and just when the light hits it, it's stunning.
Bryn Schockmel is the curator of the Hyde's permanent collection. The recent acquisitions exhibit is on display through September 17th. Wrapping up the show now with a little bit of music from one of the summer concert series. We've been trying to preview them and hit them throughout the North Country and in Peru, Saranac Lake, Norwood. Today we're heading Glens Falls. This is singer-songwriter Ariel O'Keefe, who's based in Saratoga Springs. Maybe you've heard her, Cafe Lena. She's definitely performed there. And this Friday night, she's performing at the Park Theater's summer concert series at the Bandshell in Crandall Park. The Park Theater is hosting summer concert Friday nights throughout the month and into August from 7 to 8:30. This is her song, Because It Moves Me.
And I am humbled and afraid of all the things that I know that I don't know yet. They say work hard. They say play. They say work hard. They say play. From a movie, and I keep playing the same song because it moves me. Sometimes I feel the way I light the room.
That's it for Northern Light for this Wednesday, July 26th.
Morning edition continues in just a minute. Then stick around after that for the Marketplace Morning Report coming up between 8:51 and 9 o'clock. We'll get caught up on all the morning's business news. I'm Monica Sandreski.
I'm Todd Moe. Thanks for listening. Be well.
Yeah, for all that I may be, I am nothing so quickly when he don't call.